Hey guys, and welcome back. Today's kind of a fun day. We're going to be starting not just one, but two projects today. So we want to start both of them today so that we can let the backgrounds dry, and then that way we're going to finish both of those projects tomorrow. So when we're working with acrylic paint, we always got to kind of think about that dry time in between. So we're starting both projects today. We'll finish them tomorrow. So by the end of today, what we're looking to have are two pieces of paper. One of them is going to be whatever color you choose. It's just going to be a tint of it painted over the whole background. So it's going to look something like this. And then your second piece of paper is going to be that same color, but this time we're going all the way from the tint down to the shade in this kind of a color gradient like this, where it's really smooth and we can't really tell where one tone ends, or one tint, tone, or shade ends, and the next one begins. So we want the values to all just merge together, kind of in that ombre effect, right? So let's get started with how do we make this happen? First off, we're going to need a couple pieces of paper, aren't we? So let's get one out. Throw this. This one's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to put that up high. And here we go. So the first one we want to make as a tint, right? The whole thing. So go ahead and choose a color. You want to make sure that you've got enough of whatever this color is, because we're going to be using it a lot today. So definitely, if you've been using the same color for all these projects, you might want to choose a new one just so you know that you've got enough. Speaking of enough, we're going to need to make a lot of this tint. So check this out. Here's my art palette. I know it looks messy, but all that's dried on there. And I'm going to put in a lot. I don't know. That looks like a soft serve ice cream cone, doesn't it? It's a lot. It's like a whole cap full. If I were to put my cap next to it, it's about the equivalent of a cap. So this whole area full of white into my painter's palette or plate or wherever you're color mixing. So I'm going to make a lot of tint. The color I've chosen for these two projects is turquoise. So I'm going to add in some turquoise there. And you guys can probably see there is a lot more white than there is the color that I've chosen. So it should be about a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio. So a lot more white than there is color. And of course we're going to mix it. Now, you guys, this is so weird. I think that I just opened a new paint this morning, the new white. And it is, I don't know if you can tell this from the video, but it is so thick. It is like pudding. It's so crazy. So if you can see over here, I'm kind of adding a little bit of water to it because I know that if it is so goopy like that, it is not going to paint very well on my paper. And I need it to paint well. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water to it. So if you're having the same struggle where maybe your paint's a little goopy too, adding little bits of water to it definitely does the trick. Okay, you can notice I'm using a really big paintbrush. I'm using the biggest one that my art kit came with. And I'm going to simply from here paint the entire background, and I want to make sure that it is as smooth as can be. So the last strokes that I'm going to make on it, I'm going to make sure I go all in the same direction. So when I'm starting, I can kind of go in any direction like this, okay? But when I'm finishing it, I'm going to get my paintbrush wet again just because, once again, it is very goopy. So my finishing ones, though, are all going to be in the same direction just to make it look really nice and smooth. Okay? So something kind of like that. And, of course, we want to have the whole thing painted in. So we're going to get the bottom area too. I always kind of do the little bottom corner area last so I have somewhere to hold on to so my paper doesn't run away on me. My water almost just ran away on me. Oh my goodness. Okay, last little bits here. All the way to those edges and all the way to this edge. And once again, finishing it by just having it smooth across like that. Now we're going to put this away somewhere safe. Somewhere that siblings and pets are not going to step in it, right? We don't want little colorful footprints all over the ground. That wouldn't be good. Nor do we want our project getting ruined. So I'm going to put this up nice and high somewhere that no pets or siblings or anyone can touch it. And we'll be working on that again tomorrow. I'm going to get out a fresh piece of paper to start project number 2. I am going to take that same color that I just used and check this out. We're going to go whoop, right down the middle. Kind of fun, right? So we want to do just the hue, the color as it comes, straight out of the tube, right down the middle. Now I should mention, if you're like, Art Lady, you're going too fast, pause the video. Feel free to pause and rewind as needed, but in the sake of not having a really long video, I'm going to keep on keeping on. So I've got my stripe down the middle, taking my big brush again, and simply back and forth and back and forth. I want to cover the whole middle section of this piece of paper. Going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until it's covered edge to edge, that whole midsection. Okay? So something kind of like that. You can see the top still open. That's going to be where I put my tint. The bottom's still open. That's where I'm going to put my shade. And over here, well, I'm cleaning off my paintbrush over there, aren't I? Because I'm trying to get it ready for the tint. So we just made the tint. I still have some left. And I am going to start at the top of my piece of paper with the tint. Now I want you guys to watch this part very carefully. I am going to go really, really close right up to the edge of my hue. And I'm going to stop. And I'm going to clean off my paintbrush. Okay, I know it seems weird. Why is she cleaning her paintbrush? Because we're going to try to get these two to merge without being able to tell where one ends and the next begins. So by cleaning off our paintbrush, I can now go over that center area, and I'm kind of going to go up and down and up. So back and forth between those two sections, up and down again. And it'll kind of just like naturally blend them together in a way. It's almost like the sunset, right? Where it's just like one color melts into the next, just like that. Once you've got that done, I'm going to flip it around just so it's easier for you guys to see on the camera. But if you like having yours in the same direction, so you're painting closest to you, you can do that. My next step is going to be to make the shade, right? I did the tint up here, so I got to do the shade down here. As a reminder, whenever we are paint mixing, we always want to start with the lighter color first and only add a tiny bit of the darker color. So here we go. I'm going to put my color right there. There's my blue. You guys are using whatever color you've got for this. And I'm going to add the tiniest amount of black in here because black is powerful. So I already have some black right there. I'm going to show you guys, like, look at, it is a tiny amount, just the corner. If you compare those two, there's a lot more blue than there is black. And even so, look at how quickly that powerful black paint changes the color of that blue to being darker, the shade, right? Once you've got that good and mixed up, so we're doing exactly the same thing as before. So we're going to start at that edge with this. Here we go. And I'm going to bring that down so it's almost touching that hue that we have from the middle. Almost touching, so there's just the tiniest amount of white still showing in between. Teeny, teeny, tiny amount. There we go. I'm going to clean off my paintbrush over here. Up, 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 up. And with a clean paintbrush, I'm going to do the same thing where I mix back and forth between the two until they transition nicely and you can't really tell where one ends and the next begins. Very cool, right? Get that a little smoother right there. Once you've got this one ready to go with that beautiful color gradient, put that off to the side too, and we will be working with both of those backgrounds tomorrow. I'll see you then.